Hi everybody, it's Matthew here from Bead Spider. It's time for another live Bead Spider tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a gorgeous Morse code bracelet. You can customize it to be any message that you want whatsoever. And then if you want to, you can give it as a gift. You can wear it for yourself if you want a nice sentimental message on there or something. But I'm going to go through the whole process today. I'm going to show you how you make your little messages. I'll also show you how to do the technique. We'll be using some Peyote stitch mainly today. But yeah, I'll also show you the Morse code alphabet that we've put together and all of that and everything as well. How you make everything from beginning to the absolute end, plus how you put on the clasp as well. So thank you all very, very much for joining me today. As per usual, we got plenty of people commenting in already, which is great. I know we weren't live last week, unfortunately, but this week we will be live, thankfully. Next week we'll see. Let me just readjust this. It's a bit twisted. There we go. Yeah. So, yeah. Let's have a look. So there's 5 different colorways. There's a 15% discount on the bracelet as well when you choose any 3 or more colors. So it's £11.95 for one kit, and that includes the full instructions, all the beads that you're going to need, the thread, the needle, the clasp, everything is included. Plus you get the full instructions and our little pattern sheet so that you can make your own Morse code little projects there. So yes, we're going to be using seed beads and bugle beads today. I'm going to be demonstrating with a lovely luscious blue color. So let me just pop it on down to the table just here so I can actually show you what these gorgeous designs look like. So let's just fade that on over. There we go. So if you have a look just here, this is what one of these gorgeous little bracelets look like. They are so simple and fun to make, but as you can see how I've got all of these little spaces here. There's my little space of 2 beads between each letter. Ooh, where are we? There we are. And a space of 3 beads between each word. So if you have a look, we have the Morse code symbol, which is ... for I. This particular one says I love you, but you can change it to anything that you like. I've made another one which is on the way to saying Bead Spider. I've got another one which has got my name on it. Jermaine wanted to make ones with the boys' names on them, the grandsons. So I just realized my face isn't showing. Where am I hiding? So yeah, there's also the names of the grandsons on Jermaine's other little design that she's got. Where is my face? Here it is. Let's put me back up there in the corner. So yeah, you can literally make any message that you want to put it up there, and then as you can see, we've just put them in. So the dots are single bugles and the dashes are 2 bugles side by side like that. So you can see here we've got the I, then an L, an O, which would be dash, V, which is ... dash, E, which is just a dot, and then Y, O, and U down the end there. So it's a lovely, nice little idea of something that you can wear. Give it as a gift if you want to. Just something special that looks really nice. That's the Mystic Magenta colorway, this one here, by the way. We also have, which is the one I'm going to be demonstrating with, the Atlantis Blue. So since we've called this our hidden message bracelet, obviously all of them are sort of hidden name themes that we've got there. We also have this one here, which is called Mists of Avalon. We were tossing up between calling it Mists of Avalon or Secret Garden, but we went with Mists of Avalon. I really like that name. That's this one here. We have the Emerald Enigma, which is this one here. And lastly, which I think is absolutely gorgeous, we also have the Silhouette, which is a black and silver, which is a nice one because it is unisex. It could be worn both by man or a woman. Same with the blue one. I reckon a man could easily wear this one as well. It's very, very nice. In fact, most of them, I reckon, are easily unisex. This one I think particularly is good because the sort of the coppery color beads are very close to a skin tone sort of color. So even if you're pale, pale, pale like me, or you have much darker skin, it's sort of the right color family, if you will. That one is our Mists of Avalon color, if you want to get that one. But as I said, any 3 or more, you will get your 15% discount. But anyway, so what I have put together, I've got it just up here, which I can show you. I've made myself a nice little template, if you will. Let's zoom out a little bit so we can see it a bit better. So I've made myself a template, which it's to scale. So when you make this up, essentially it will tell you how many rows, based on what size of a bracelet you want to make. It's this is just my practice one. It's going to be... It's got, there's a big space for chunk of text here and stuff, but it's coming. Don't worry. But anyway, so if we have a look, the way I've done it is that you've got one little line that you can just color in for each of the bugle beads. You just leave a space where you need a space, leave 2 spaces between letters, and leave 3 spaces between words. So comment in right now what message you think I should write. Now make sure we keep it all friendly, nothing rude. But yeah, comment in and let me know what sort of a message you think. I've got down here an example which is love you. It's actually meant to have been I love you, but I removed the I and then wasn't remembering I'd done it. But anyway, I'll write a little message in here. I'll show you how exactly you can create them. I've got, see, this is my I've been working on it. I've handwritten the numbers because you'll soon see why this is easier. So for example, this little bracelet here, we have our outer edges, which are in purple. And then inside those 2 outer edges, we have 72 rows just here. So when you work that out, obviously if we take into account the size of our clasp, which is about an inch and a bit for your finished piece, you can figure out just by looking on here the size that you want it to be. So if you have a look just there, if I'd had a ruler I could have shown you exactly, but anyway, I've worked it out that when you go, yeah, this is the size that I want it to be, taking into account the size of the actual clasp, you can figure out the total length that you want your design to be. So for example, for Jermaine's size, which I'll do one which is in Jermaine's size here, we have, for example, 72. So if you have a look, I've marked them all, 10 beads, 20 beads, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So 70 is pretty much exactly 6 inches. Or if you have a look, it's just a little bit over 15 centimeters. So depending on if you prefer centimeters or inches to work in, once you take into account that little bit for a clasp, you can work out how much space you're going to need. So if you've got a larger wrist, or if you want to make even a double wrap version, a double the length one, you can do that as well with the extra long template. But anyway, let's just do a single length one. We'll do it in Jermaine's sort of size, and we'll go, so that's 72. So that's up to this point just here. I'll zoom on in so you can see it a little bit closer. So we've got our 72 just here. Now, if we think about the sort of patterns that we want to say, what we want it to say, we can... Angeline has suggested it's probably too long, but I hate housework on it. Well, do you know what? You could do a double wrap. I reckon it would fit. But anyway, we'll go with something like, I mean, it's boring, but I'll go with Bead Spider. So, for example, I'll show you with my love you example. If you have a look just here, see how there's this 2 space here? This is the space between a word. So if I just put a line there, you can see this is our first letter. This is the second letter. Our third letter is here. Then we have a whole word space. So that's in that gap there. And then we have our Y, which ends here, our O that ends there, and then our U. So basically, if you read your little alphabet, your Morse code alphabet, you can figure out exactly which beads you want to use, but you can also calculate how many rows that's going to take up before you begin. So for example, let's say we're going to go with the term Bead Spider. So if we have a look, our B is just here. So we can go, I'll write it just here. If we go a space and a dot, a space and a dot. So these dots are going to represent our letter spaces or our word spaces. So we're going to have a B and a dot, which will be 2 beads there, an E, then a dot, then an A and a dot, a D and a dot. Or actually, we'll have our word space, so I'll put a slash. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Whatever works for you. And then we'll have an S and a dot, a P and a dot, an I and a dot, a D, an E, and finally we'll put a little R there. And so if you have a look at the numbers, because I'm going to put these numbers on there, you can use these and calculate how long the pattern will be. So if it's going to be too long, you can just readjust it a little bit. But anyway, so if we go with B, that's an 8 little things long. So you have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of our rows from up the top. I need a toggle. Are up here. So we have 8. E just uses 1. So that's just 1 there. Then we have 2 for the dot. A uses 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 of our lines makes an A. Then we have 2 for the space between them. D uses 6. Then we're going to do a word space, which if we check it out, a word space is the space between words. So let's do 3 gaps on that one. So we'll put 3 here. 3 here. S uses 5. So we'll put that as our 5. Then we have 2, thank you. P is next. So our P is 9 spaces. Quite a long one to do P. I is 3. Then we have D, which if we check that out, that's a 6. Then we have 2 more for the space between. E is a 1. Then 2 in between. And R works out, if we look down here, it's a 6. So if we work that out, we can just add all of these up. So just go along and go, yeah, there's 10 there. 13, let's go. That makes 17 is here. 19, 25. Just as you go along, it gives you an approximation. Just keep tallying up. So if you lose track of your number, you can just go, oh yeah, where was I up to? 25. 32 is here. Let's go 40. 41 there. So then this will give us 46, 47, 48. Around here somewhere. Then we have 56, 57, 58, 59 is here. And then another 5 gives us a total of 65. That works out pretty well, doesn't it? So 65 of our around 72 rows. So if you work that out, basically that means we're going to have a couple of rows left over. Because I was going to suggest 72, you can change it by 1 row here and there to get it exactly right so that it can be symmetrical. So in this instance, because I've got 75, let's fill those in, and then let's just... Oh, someone said it was their birthday. Who said it was their birthday? Someone did. Where's that gone? I don't know. Who said it was their birthday? Oh, I don't know why. Carol has said happy birthday to someone. I don't know who. But oh, happy birthday is my message, right? Duh. Anyway, yeah. That would have been a good idea. Happy birthday. Anyway, so I'll fill this in now up on my sheet. So if we have a look, we can just fill this in. So first things first, if we look at our B, so we go, it's got dash, dot, dot, dot. So if we go like this, we can come up here. The dash is the first 2 bars. then we'll miss a space, and we go dot, miss a space, dot, miss a space, dot. So that's going to give us our B. Then when we want to do our E, let's check it out. It's literally just one simple little dot. So if we come on down over here, we'll leave 2 spaces for the word, and then we'll do our E. Then we're going to leave another 2 spaces there to do our A, which A is a dot, leave a space, and then we have a dash. Like that there. Obviously, you can use whatever color you want. That gives us our A. Then we have our D, so we leave 2 spaces for that one. D is dash dot dot, so let's go dash, which is the longer one, 2. Then we have dot, and then dot. So they're quite quick and easy to fill in, aren't they? So we go like this, bead, and then we'll leave 3 spaces because between words we want to have that sort of space. So we know we're going to have our next one here. So the S, how do you make an S? S, if we check that out down here, is dot, then a space, dot, then a space, then a dot. So we have our first dot, then a space, dot, then a space, dot. Then we're going to leave a gap for the next one. P, which was a long one, wasn't it? P is dot, dash, dash, dot. So let's go dot, dash, dash, oops, leave the space, of course, dash, leave a space, and dot. So there is our, wait a minute, so S, now P. I is leaving a space, dot, and a space, and another dot. There's the I. Then we can have our D again, which is leaving 2 spaces between letters. The, whoops, sorry, just out of screen there. The double, then a space, then a dot, and then a dot. That gives us the D. Then E is just one line, just a dot. And then, yep, E is there. And then R, where's R? There it is after 2 spaces, dot, dash, and where's it gone? Where was R? Oh yeah, and then a dot. So we can just finish that up there. And if you have a look now, we actually have, clearly I did terrible maths. This did not work out. My maths was bad. But anyway, if we have a look, we now have exactly how many spaces have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4 left over for our final little thing here. So if you just look at this, you can, if you just change it by 1 or 2 here, there, whichever you want to do, you can go, okay, I need to put half this amount, whatever's left here, in just blank from the end of your message to the end size of your bracelet, split it in 2, and we'll put half of it at the start of our message and the other half at the end of our message. So because we have 4 little spaces there, that actually works out very, very nicely, that we can have 2 on this side and 2 on this side, and that's going to give us the exact size that we want for our little bracelet here. So if we have a look, so for example, if I just show you some of these ones here, so this one here, this is the beginning of it here. This one here is my nephew's name, Leonardo. So if you have a look, because Leonardo didn't take up as much space, you've got more space here at the beginning to fill. And then once we've got all of his letters in, L-E-O-N-A, R, and then we're part way through D, and then so forth. And then when we finish it off, you can put that one just on the end there to match, or like we've done on the blue one. This one is Giulio, which is my other nephew. I think this one said Giulio. One of them did. I think it was this one. Says Giulio. So again, you've got your your Morse code written out there, and you just leave the space to whatever you like. Or this is one which I've made for Maxine. This one just here actually has my name on it. I wrote my own name on there because, you know, I'm clearly I'm vain like that. So we have M-A-T-H-E, and then W is here as well. So there's my name, which this one's going to be a nice little gift for Maxine. Or if you want to make it for someone, you know, you can write their name, you can write your name, you can write happy birthday, you can say happy Mother's Day, you can write I love you, whatever it is that you want to do, whatever takes your fancy, you can make that message. So anyway, we've done that. You've sort of got the idea now. So now that we've created ourselves this little pattern here, we can start filling it in. So I'm going to start with the technique. As I said, I'm going to demonstrate with this gorgeous blue colorway just here. And so, by the way, which one was your favorite color? Angeline says, your sweater matches the Mists of Avalon colorway. You're right, actually. I almost didn't even realize. Look at that, same color. But yeah, so... yeah, I'm going to demonstrate with this one just here. So it has this lovely opaque cyan blue bugle. We've got a lovely silver-lined sort of deeper blue for the main color. And then I've got a nice little accent color on the outside just to make it a little nicer. You can change how you want it to look if you want to, but personally, I really like it. So to begin with... it's going to seem a little strange at first. So if you have never ever done Peyote stitch, maybe that's better. But if you have done Peyote stitch before, it's a little bit like... Ooh, my face has disappeared again. Where are you? Where am I? There we go. Yeah, so... when we do our little thing here, I'll use myself a bit of Spider-on thread, and I'm going to bring in, we're going to start with 2 rows, remember? Starting with 2 rows, cut yourself a length of thread, it doesn't matter how much. I use just like sort of just short of 2 meters because I got relatively long wingspan, but you will need to change threads, so just use like a comfortable length. That's my suggestion. And then we'll grab ourselves one of our size 11 beading needles from my packet. There we go. And just thread it onto the end of my Spider-on, which if you get the kit, of course, you will get the thread and needle included. Everything is always included with our kits. So just to be, like I said, we're going to be working with Peyote stitch. So first thing that you do with Peyote stitch is you find a little bead that can be your stopper. So if I just find myself... I've got one just here, actually. A lovely bright red. That'll make a good stopper bead, I think. Here we go. Let's get one of these fellas out. It's handy just having a million beads around. Nancy says, the black is interesting. I really like the black and silver one. This one I really like as well. That's Nancy over here on YouTube. So yeah, here we go. There is the black one. What other colors do you guys like? Let me know. Let me know what color you like. So anyway, first things first, we're going to grab ourselves just any old bead. It doesn't matter what it is. And we're going to use this as a stopper. So take your thread through it all the way, leaving yourself a bit of a tail, about maybe 10 inches or 10 to 12 inches, maybe 25, 30 centimeters worth. And we'll just loop back around and through that bead again in the same direction. We'll go through it once, and then we'll go through it a second time, like that. Try not to pierce the thread or get it caught on the corner of the table like I did just then. Where are you? There you go. Pull that tight. There we are. So yeah, if now you have a look, I've got my little stopper bead on there, and we can begin with our technique. So we're going to be doing even count peyote, but if you've done even count peyote before, this is going to seem a little weird. What I'm going to do to start with, you're going to go, what? That doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. But it will soon enough. But so, yeah, just bear with me for a minute while I explain. So, as I said, we're going to be using even count peyote so that we can get a nice, easy turn back and forth without having to do too much jiggery pokey to get back into position. So I'm just laying out my beads here on my bead mat, which I'll also show you. This is a suggestion of Jermaine's, which if you aren't so good with your patterns, you can lay them out on the table. So the way that she does it, if I just zoom out a little, the way Jermaine does it is that she goes, okay, I'm going to do... So you know how we're going to start with 2 rows of seed beads? She goes, yep, I'm going to put one seed bead there to go, yeah, I need a seed bead. Then we have a dash. So that's a bugle, followed by another bugle. Then we have a space. So I'll put a seed bead in there. Then we have a dot. Then we have a little bit of a space, then a dot. So that's going to give us our B. Then we're going to need 2 seed beads to go in between. This will give us our E, this little dot. Then 2 spaces in between, and so forth. And just keep going like this, picking them up until you have your full pattern. So anyway, that is a nice, easy way to keep track of your pattern. You can go, yep, here's a dash, here's 1 letter, there's a space, and so forth, so forth, so forth. So anyway, there's a nice little tip for you. But as we begin, first thing we're going to do is pick up one of our contrast color. So this one here is going on the outside. I'm using size 10 Preciosa seed beads and 7mm Preciosa bugle beads, which work out to be exactly the right size, you'll see. So we start with one of our contrast color. Then we're going to need 9 of our main color. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of our main color. And then 1 more little contrast bead. So for those of you who were counting, that makes a total of 11 beads. So this is why it's a little bit... This is why people who've done even count peyote before are going to be going, what? What's going on here? Even count peyote needs an even number of beads. Well, what we're actually going to do is take 6 of these beads as though they were 1. So, for example, these 6 just here, these are going to be the center of our work. So this is the equivalent of a bugle and 1 seed bead. Or imagine, you have to sort of imagine that these 6 will always be used as though they are just 1 bead. So then that gives us 1, 2, 3. If you imagine that all of these are just 1 really long bugle bead, that's 4. Then we have 5 and then 6. So that's how we're getting even count peyote with an odd number of beads. So first things first, let's hold that down to the bottom against our stopper bead so it's sitting nice and firm. We're going to pick up 1 of our contrast beads that's going to sit beside this one here. So we're going to loop around and back down in the opposite direction. So we were coming up there, back down through that second bead. So when you pull that tight, you'll see, if you've never done peyote stitch before, the 2 beads sit nicely. I say nicely, it's all gone funny in my hand there. There we go. They'll sit nicely side by side at the end of your work there. So there you go. There's those first 2 beads sitting approximately in position. This third row, this little row here is the hardest one, but it gets much easier after this. So anyway, they'll sit side by side. Oh man, keep dropping it. There we go. Side by side like that, just there. So now we're going to pick up 1 of our sort of main color, and we're going to skip this bead just here and go into the second one. So when we do that, what ends up happening is that this new bead that we're going to add is going to sit neatly beside the bead that we're skipping. So if we pick that bead up and jump past that first bead and into the next one, when you pull that tight, it will sit neatly beside that other bead. See? Let's just pull this nice and tightly so that it's all going to sit neatly. And then there you go. Let me just pull my stopper a little tighter. There we go. Now it should stay a bit neater. So there we are. So there's that one sitting approximately next to that bead there. Now, remember how I said we're going to be treating this section as one big giant bead. We've already gone through the first one. We need to go through the next 5 of the seed beads here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seed beads. So that before we add any other beads, we're going to be exiting just before the very last bright middle color bead. So all the way through. You could have done it at the same time at the start when I did that first little bead, but we're going to just pull, keep it on the outside. There we go. So we're now coming out. Look at that. You've got the 2 beads that we added at the beginning, and we're coming out now 2 beads from the end. So once again, see how that worked? That's as though this was all 6 of these beads were just one giant bead just there. See that? So we've skipped all of those in one. Now we're going to pick up one more seed bead, skip that very one there, and go into the absolute last little seed bead at the opposite end. So as you pull all the way through there, pull it nice and tight. And look at that. Perfect. So we have one bead that we added here, one bead here. We've got a nice big gap there where we can add our bugles. It's the same size for our bugles, same size for, all of those sorts of things. And then we come over here and we're now ready to continue going back in the opposite direction. So if you hold that nice and firm, we're going to pick up one of our end colors. Each row always starts with one end color. So we'll go down the bead that we just added and pull that nice and tight. And now that's going to sit neatly beside that little bead at the very, very bottom. So see that? Now we've got 2 beads next to this one. We're going to go through here and we're in position to add our next little row of seed beads. So again, we're going to pick up 6 seed beads as though they were one big giant bead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we're going to jump up all the way to the top of our work, and we're going to go into, there you go, see? So we're going to skip all of those beads there and jump into the next one that's sort of sticking out, called an up bead, if you will. So there we go. We're now exiting from there. We've got 2 little rows of bugles. They're not connected to each other, seed beads not connected to each other. And the last thing we're going to do now is pick up one more seed bead and go into that little bead on the very, very end and pull that tight to finish the second sort of row. See that? So now we're exiting from this little bead here. We'll pick up another little end color. So every time you're exiting from one of these little end beads, that's the next bead you're going to pick up. We're going to pick that little bead up and we're going to pass back down through the very last bead we added. You know how we just added this one a second ago? We're going to pass back down in the other direction through that bead, pull tight, and it will sit nicely beside there as well. So now, if you remember, you know how we had 6 beads all together. You can see them here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to pick up one of our main color, and we're going to pass down through all 6 of those beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just like that there. See that? So when we pull that tight, that one bead will fill that space perfectly, and we'll be coming out towards the bottom. And now have a look. We're in position to add one last bead just here into this gap. So once again, pick that little bead up and pull it all the way through. So I've done my first 2 little rows in my pattern. It's time to move on to the next one. So if we have a look again at how I was doing it, we need to do a dash, then a space, then a dot, then a space, then a dot, so forth. So I'll start with my bugle beads now. So if we have a look back here, we're exiting from the very, very end little bead there. Let's pick up one of our contrast color, which gives us that lovely border along the outside edge. And we're going to go back through the very last bead that we just added just a second ago. There we go. Pull that nice and tight. And now we're in position ready to add our bugle. Now, this is something that you need to notice. So when we do this here, the length of this space here, because we want to have a nice symmetrical top and a symmetrical bottom, see how we've only got 2 bits of peyote just here, and then we have 6 beads, but this side there's 3 rows of peyote. We want it to look like 3 rows of peyote, then the central section, and then 3 rows of peyote. So the best way to do that is to pick up 1 seed bead first, and then 1 bugle. So you know how we do 6 seed beads? The other option is 1 seed bead and 1 bugle. Not just the bugle, it's a seed bead and a bugle. So now when we pass through there, you'll see in just a second, pull, 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 all the way through, going into that next bead up the top. And when you pull that through, see that? See how there's, by adding that 1 bead at the bottom, the distance, see look, there's a row of beads here, a row of beads here, and a row of beads here. And then we've also got 1, 2, and 3 rows of beads at both sides. So there's an equal amount of beads either side of your bugle, giving it a nice symmetry about it. So that's why we're adding 1 seed bead and 1 bugle when we do our bugles. So now let's just continue on. Let's pick up 1 seed bead and go into that last little bead there and pull tight. Now let's lock that back in and we're ready to go back down. So pick up one of your end beads, go back through the bead that we just added. Then we're going to pick up one of our main color seed beads and we're going to go back down through the bugle and the seed bead. So it's exactly the same as passing through all 6 seed beads, but this time, because we added a bugle and a seed bead, we're really going to go from the bugle and seed bead into that gap there. There you go. And now we're ready to finish this little row off by doing 1 seed bead more and into the very end. Pull. And there you go. So now let's continue. Let's come back in the opposite direction. Go through the bead we just added. Pull tight. Now we're going to do the next part of our thing here. So if you have a look, it was a bugle. So let's pick up 1 seed bead and that bugle. Then we're going to go up through that next little bead. So jumping across into that gap. Pull tight. And there we go. And then we'll just grab a seed bead and jump across. So what did you think about that one? The little plan of using even count peyote that looks like odd count peyote in a technique that is using an odd number of beads. It sounds all very misleading and confusing, but it's actually, once you start see it happening, it is super, super simple that we can use that odd number of beads, but we can still do our even turn peyote. Clever, I know, aren't I just? No. So anyway, let's now just continue, and I'm going to just smash out a few more rows. Now, by the way, see how this looks a little bit loose? Don't worry about it. It all fixes up. You can fix it when we add our clasp at the end. It'll get even neater. But anyway, so I'm going to now add on one more. I'll do a couple more rows just so that you can see. So essentially, now we've done the first part. We've done our dash. We've done our dash. We're going to pick up 6 seed beads now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, because it fills that space perfectly from there to there. It takes that one little seed bead that we added at the bottom, and then 5 seed beads, which is the exact size of 1 bugle bead. See? 5 seed beads is 1 bugle. So jump across and in there. So 6 in total. Get caught on the table once again, as per usual. There we go. And now let's put that up into there. So it's just easy, standard, simple peyote stitch. So let's now just go back down again and reinforce that little row that we just added. Pull through there, pick up 1 bead, and just like we have been doing, instead of going through the bugle and a seed bead, we're going to go through the next 6 seed beads. So 1, 2, 3. This can be a little bit fiddly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. See that? Through all 6 beads again. Pull, 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 and nicely in position to add the last bead of this row. And now let's just smash a few rows out. Anybody got any questions or anything you guys want to know? Anything that seems confusing or anything you don't understand? Now's the time to ask. So ask away. Ask away. Anything you want to know, I'm listening. I'll just continue finishing off this letter B. So comment in. Let me know. What have you guys been getting up to, by the way? Do you know, I was talking actually to my cousin about this particular design because my cousin from Australia is here to visit. And she was saying, oh, I'd love to make a bracelet for my brother for his birthday. But her message wasn't... her message wasn't the nicest. So James, her brother, if you're watching right now, and Stacy, your sister, is giving you a bracelet just like this one here, you might want to bust out a Morse code template and work out exactly what she's written to you because, well, it wasn't the nicest. But, you know, it's funny. It would make for a funny joke, you know, to give someone a lovely gift, and if they never translated it. Have you ever heard about those people who get, like, tattoos of Asian characters and stuff like that? And it turns out that the tattoo actually says... like something like really bad Google translating. Like, for example, I remember one time in China, actually, this isn't about tattoos, but when we go on our buying trips in China, I think you'll enjoy this one. They clearly use Google Translate to write some of the various signs and things that they have in their business cards. They just use Google Translate. So, like, the grammar is, like, really weird and really bad. And, there was this billboard. It was literally like, I don't know, 12 stories high, this billboard, down the edge of this giant building. And all it said was flower shop thing. Like, massive, massive sign, and it just says flower shop thing all the way down the edge. Like, every time you see it, because obviously we can read it, but for them it doesn't mean so much. It was hilarious because it's like, what? Who approved a 12-story billboard that doesn't make any sense? But anyway, it was all very fun. Now, there was a question which was, do you do something to firm up the first rows that are wavy? Actually, you'll be surprised. These first rows, they only look wavy because I'm like pulling extra tight on the thread. Once you've kind of got more bracelet happening, they do sit pretty neatly. But you can, if you want to. It's because I haven't firmed it up with see the stopper bead, it's a bit loose from the edge. So if my stopper bead was a bit tighter, you would see, which it will be when you add the clasp, it sits much, much better. So you don't actually have to do anything to make this row tighter. It's just because my stopper bead was a bit loose that it looks a little bit wavy. So that when you actually finish it, it does sit pretty fine. I haven't done anything special to it at this end. I haven't done anything special to it at this end. They're exactly the same. So anyway, now, let me just have a sip of my tea. As per usual, it's about time. Actually, while we're chatting, I'm going to finish my letter B, and then we'll move on. While we're chatting, I just remembered we have a minor issue that is going on the website at the minute. So if you are shopping on the website, if you're on one of the actual product pages where it's just showing you one product, I'll show you it in just a second actually. In fact, I might just move on so I can show you that instead. If you have the... Oh, where am I? Here we go. If you're buying any of the products off of our website, one of the buttons, we've just done some website updates. Of course, there's just a small bug that needs fixing. It shouldn't take very long. Hopefully by the end of the weekend, it'll be fine again. But just so you know, I'll show you on the Bead Spider website. So if we have a look at our website for today... Well, while I'm there, I may as well show you about the products as well. But anyway, if you have a look on the Bead Spider website today, this is what the homepage looks like. So if you want to go and get the kit from today's video, you can either click the link that is in the description just there, but otherwise you can just come onto the homepage of our website here, and depending on which tutorial takes your fancy and which project you want to make, you just click on the picture of the one that you want to see. So we're having a look at this one, which is today's. I don't know why it's showing me in euros. There we go. So yeah, today's tutorial, here is the video just here. If you scroll on down, here is the kit. So the kit is £11.95. This is the one I'm demonstrating with. This is the Emerald Enigma, the Mists of Avalon, the Mystic Magenta, and the Silhouette. If you're buying one of these just by themselves, there's something strange that happens on the website. So I'll show you just quickly. From here, you can add them to basket. If you click add to basket, just go click, and then there you go. Look at that. One has been added to the basket. But there's a strange thing going on, which I've put a little notification on the pages. If you view the actual product, so if you come on here and you go, I want a bit more information, and you click on this one, comes up here, this button here that says add to basket, it's not quite working properly at the minute. So you can only just see the top corner of it just here. So it's letting you know we're fixing an issue. There's a temporary issue preventing the add to basket. So this one, if you click on it just at the minute, hopefully it'll be fixed by Monday. If you click on it, it doesn't actually add anything to the basket, but all you have to do is go back to the category. So if you just click the back button in the top corner, or see where it says categories just here? Where it says categories, you can go the hidden message bracelet related products, or you can view all of our kits, bracelet kits, whatever category. It doesn't matter which category you go to, but if you click on the category, it will take you back to these category pages where you can see, look, any 3 or more, 15% off. You can get them all here. And then this is where they will just add to the basket once again. Now, while I'm here, I'll just show you. See this any 3 or more for 15%? This one is fine. You can go select options. And then when you scroll on down, you can say, hey, I want one of these black ones. I want a blue one. And you know what? I really like the Mists of Avalon. I'll have one of those as well. This one, it will add to the basket. So you can go, yep, here you go, add to the basket. This one is working fine. And then there you go. Look, 15% off, and you've got your 3 in there. But, which I will show you as well, because sometimes, if we're not paying attention, these little mistakes can happen. See this one? See this one? It's at full price because I didn't choose it inside this 15% off product. So when you're choosing 3, make sure you click on the any 3 or more thing and do it in there. Otherwise, you don't get the discount. So if you wanted to come back and say, do you know what? I'm going to have an extra blue one. I want a blue one for me, and I'm going to also make a blue one for my sister. When you add it to the basket, it should, let's just close that off. When we add that to the basket now, and we take a look, there you go. Look, you've got 2 of them at 15%, one of this 15% off, and one of these ones here, 15% off as well. So you can choose as many or as few as you want, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12, it doesn't really matter. As long as you've got at least 3 in there, you will get you'll get your 15% off discount. So anyway, yeah, that's the current issue with the website. Hopefully it'll be fixed by Monday. But yeah, just make sure you shop for just single products like that one from the category page. So anyway, let's now get back, and I'm going to show you how we will finish off. So I'll just do, I mean, this is a very, very small piece, so I'll just make myself a teeny weeny one. I don't want to finish off one of the ones that is actually already done. So I'm going to just do one last row, but I'll just do it with seed beads just so that you get the gist of how it's going to look. And we're going to add our last little row of beads in there. So let's just come down here, put one bead more there. So when we're going to be finishing off, yeah, Jermaine made one with each of the grandsons' names. So there's a Leonardo one and one that says Giulio as well. So that's quite a nice way of doing it. You can give it as a gift to someone. If you're vain like me, clearly, you can write your own name and give that to someone. So I'm giving Maxine one which has my name on it, which was that tealy one because green is her favorite color. So I thought I would give her that one. So we need one. How many we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Into here. And back. And then pick up one more. And let's just come back in the opposite direction, and then this will finish us off. Ready to add our last little row of beads. So come on up here, and then we can be preparing ourselves to add on the clasp. So just through there, go through that bead. Now also, this is a good little tip. If you have a look, if it's a little bit loose anywhere, you can just pull on the end beads and it will help to tighten. So by pulling this one, you tighten the previous row. Then if you pinch it all and pull the end thread, you get a lovely firm finish. So for example, if a couple of rows are loose, you can just sort of pinch each previous end bead. So you can pull this end bead and that will tighten the previous row. Pull this end bead and that will tighten this one. Then pinch it all together and it brings it back to full tightness. So pulling on these end ones here, they will be there. So now let's do our final row. So this is how you would finish it off. So see how they look a bit wonky until you continue. We're going to do the entirety of this row in our contrast color. So we'll come back here, we'll go down this bead. Looks a bit loose, so you can just pull on that end bead, pinch it, pull it tight. Now I'm going to use all 6 beads with my contrast color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Let me flip it over so it was how I was doing it before. There we go. And if we just go up into that one here, pull, and this is going to start to give us that lovely end edge. So we'll go into that last little bead there. Turn that over. Put one on here. And fill this gap through there. And one last little bead out here. There we are. So now I'm going to just weave across back into the opposite side just to get it a little bit neater. So if you just go down the bead beside, they're having a funny conversation at my expense over in the YouTube comments, talking about, because I'm giving Maxine a bracelet with my name on it, clearly that she'll forget who I am. And I mean, well, I mean, it's entirely possible. I've just got one of those faces, you know, it just looks the same as everybody else, maybe. So let's come on down. Now, just to get finished, so see this, I've just woven down back through the same beads. Once you get to this point here, we want to be exiting from this bead, but on the inner side. So the easiest way to do that is that from here, you go up this bead and up into, or down in this case, into the very, very edge bead as well. So down there, and now into the edge bead that is one earlier. See that? So not the very, very end one, the one before it, because then we can just go from here into this end and brings us into that little space there. See that? So now, once we're here, we're going to pick up 7 little seed beads and 1 part of our toggle. Now, this one, you know, can you imagine Maxine waking up in the morning? What was his name again? Oh gosh, who is this guy? Do you know, I mean, we'll be getting to the, one day maybe we'll get married and we'll be at the altar and they'll be like, Maxine, do you take this man, Matthew? And she'll be like, oh, that's his name. You know, like it's been too long. It's too long and to ask him. It would be too awkward to ask him what his name is. But thankfully, this guy at the altar here has just reminded me what it was. Maybe that's exactly what will happen. Ah, that's right. At the altar. No. So anyway, let's pick up 7 of our contrast color seed beads and 1 side of our clasp. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 5, 6, and 7. And now pull that all the way down to the end, and we'll go through the 1 side of our clasp. This is a very, very small bracelet, but anyway, so we'll go through the clasp like so. And we're going to go, see how I did 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now number 6 and number 7, they're going to come out of here. And we're going to go back through those last 2. So number 6 and number 7 only. And you'll see it gives us this nice little Y shape. Oh, and if it doesn't quite pull tight, you can just hold the toggle and then pull. See that? Nice. Easy. So once we've got that there, that's going to sit nicely down here. We're going to pick up 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we're going to go into the very last bead at the opposite end. So just pull through and turn it over and go into that last little bead. If you want to, you can also use this bead here. It just depends if you find it to be more attractive that way or not. Pick up 4 beads and go into that one and that one, or pick up 5 and just go into the very last one. I kind of like going into the last one just because then you have like a whole row here and a whole row there of the last colors. So let's just pop that in there, and now we can just go through and back down this end row into this piece here, and we'll come back down through that end row. There it is. Down there. Come on now. Because I'm trying to keep it up the same direction every time. Down, 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 down. And coming out the end. Do you know, actually, this is... Jermaine said, it will be at Disneyland. So this is actually a family joke of ours. Because when I was a kid, Jermaine and Andrew had a wedding photography business. I'm going to just reinforce the clasp now, by the way. So I'm going to just go back up it. So yeah, when I was a kid, we had a wedding... Jermaine and Andrew had a wedding photography business. So clearly, as a 6-year-old, or 7 maybe I was... weddings were at the forefront of my mind because, you know, mum and dad are off doing people's weddings every weekend. So clearly it was at the forefront of my mind. We went to Disney World, and at Disney World, we were at, what was the name of it? It was like the Wild Wild West part of Disney World in Florida. And they had this, you know, this restaurant that was all cowboy themed and everything. And, you know, hot chocolate came in like these giant glass mugs. And oh my God, it was just so amazing. I loved it. And then I said to Jermaine, I'm going to have my wedding here. So now, from now on, since that day, the joke has been that my wedding will be at Disneyland, and we joke that Mickey Mouse would be my best man, and he'll get up to make his speech, and he'll go, "I'd like to thank everybody for coming." But yeah, so that's apparently that's what my wedding is going to be like, with Mickey Mouse as the best man. Goofy will be the priest, I reckon, maybe. Or maybe Donald Duck. That would be even better, you know. He could go mad just in the middle of the ceremony. Be fantastic. So anyway, that's one end of the clasp. When you want to do the second end, where you just do exactly the same thing but on the opposite side. So let's take our needle off this one. Let's remove our stopper bead. Let me just pop it so I can see my Facebook comments again. Hi to Stephanie, who's just joined, I think. And Jackie's here. Now, where have I put my... Oh, whatever, doesn't matter. So anyway, let's take this little stopper bead off as well. And if I just... So sometimes stopper beads can get a little bit caught. These things happen. Don't worry about it. Just take your time. Or, if worse comes to worse, use a pair of pliers and just break the bead. These things can sometimes be fiddly fellas. And if you accidentally pierce the thread, you know. I'm sure with undoing stopper beads, you've made these sorts of mistakes before. So, there's no point me telling you. But just be extra careful, and hopefully this will come undone. Oh, you gonna come undone, my friend? Feels very tight. I may have pierced my thread at some point. But hey, it's no problem. You can just use a pair of pliers and just crush the bead. So as you can see, I've just got a pair of pliers. Top tip, Matthew's top tip of use stopper beads that you can just break, because if needs be, you can sacrifice one tiny little seed bead there, and then hopefully you don't cut your thread, which maybe I just did. That would be a disaster. Yes, I did. Oh well. Do you know what? Yes! This actually is the perfect opportunity to show you how you can join two threads together. Do you know, I learnt a new technique, which I'll show you the old technique, which I'll do that first, on how you can join two threads together. But then I'll also show you the new technique as well. So the old technique, which I'll do on this one because I have a teeny weeny little thread, is if you get yourself a new piece of thread. So this is my new piece of thread. We're going to create a little loop on the end, which we can use to catch that little bit and cut it off. Now, if you are extra expert, you can even use this tiny piece for my second method, but this will be the first method here. So if we just make this into a loop like that, so this goes underneath and then over the top like that. And I'll just make the loop a little larger. If you go inside the loop, take your fingers inside the loop and grab this thread down here. Let's zoom out a little. So if we just into the loop and grab that thread, see? Now you can sort of let go of this side a little and grab it a little bit lower down. So you're holding the bottom of the thread and the top of the thread. And as you pull, you create this little lasso shape. See that? And if you just shrink the size of that down, you can then put it over the top of your old thread and close it around your old thread. So let's just put my finger on it so it stays in there. Get in there. There we go. And now I can just pull, 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 and oops. And there we go. You can see it's now around that little bit of thread there. And all I have to do is just grab those two threads and really give it a good old tug, like a really firm one. So, oop, did I just... No, good. It's still there. If I've got my tweezers, or I'll use my pliers, you can see the end of my thread is still sticking out. Just a teensy bit. So let's just try and slide this down. But actually, I may have already secured it into position. Yeah, that's about as firm as it's going to be. So anyway, if you have a look, it's now tied nicely on there. And you hear this nice little click noise. And, good. I did get it off. I was going to say, I didn't... You can always take it off again, slide it off, and it just comes undone and doesn't leave a mark on the end of your thread. So I'll just do it again, nice and quick. Grab both ends, pull to create your loop, and now we'll go a little tighter, a little tighter, a little tighter. And if I just grab that onto the end of my thread here, like so, and pull, whoops, I tell you, it's a little fiddly because I got such a small piece. If you've got a longer piece, it's definitely better. And now pull, pull, pull. There we go. Just trying to keep it on the end. There we are. That's better. There. And if you give that a big tug, you can hear it gives it a really positive click noise. A nice solid, firm click. And then if you've got like a thread zapper, you can zap your thread and that will lock it nicely. And that thread is not coming undone now. So that's method number 1. Method number 2, which I'll show you very, very quickly, which is a new one I've seen. So I'll just cut that old thread off. There we go. So I've got my extended piece now, which is nice and firm. If I grab myself, here's an old one. So if you imagine that this is the end of my old thread, and this is the start of a new thread. So I think you'll enjoy how I learnt this old method. So, this new method. So I was watching with Maxine. There's a show. There's a show on Netflix, which is like a Japanese show where they show they get little kids to do errands. So these small children, they send them off to go down to the market or whatever. And there was one where the mother's pants needed repairing. And so the little girl went down to this little old lady's tailor shop. And the lady was using this knot, which she was like, oh yes, the sashiko knot, or whatever it was called. I think it was called a sashiko knot. And so I looked it up and how she did it, and I was like, what? How have I never learnt this before? So now I've learnt it. I'm going to teach you guys. I've realized that I think in English it's called a sheet bend knot. But anyway, that's the first side of it here. If I just loop that into like a... See that? So they're just side by side like this. See? So this is, if we say our old thread, the small end, if you can, the better you get, the smaller you can make this piece. So then you bring in your new thread, and what you do, so if you just pinch the two pieces nicely together, so that they're nicely side by side. They don't need to cross over or anything like that. So if we just hold them side by side like this, and take your thread, your new thread, through that little... It's not a loop, it's just two pieces side by side. So the bend in your thread there, see? So just over the top there and go through it. So now once we've done that, take it all the way under both sides. And now see how this is creating a little loop just here? So it goes up out of this, we go underneath both, go up through there and through that little loop that I created. And as you pull that tight, you can grab the little end of this thread here and the new thread, and I'm already holding these two pieces. As you pull them together, creates this fantastic, very strong little knot. And now I have, if I just try tugging on it, a lovely, strong, extended knot. So you can just pull the two short ends in opposite directions to really lock it in place. And then, yeah, that will give you this lovely, firm knot. What do you think about that one? That was good. That's a new one, which is the other method that I learned to join two threads together, thanks to that show where a bunch of 3-year-old children are sent on errands to tailor their mother's clothes, etc. But anyway, so yeah, what did you think? Which method did you like better? That was method 1 and method 2. But anyway, now that I'm back with more thread, let's continue, and I'll do the second side of my mini bracelet. Nancy says, great knot. Which one did you like better, the first one or the second one? So the first one was called a weaver's knot, and then the second one was called a sheet bend, I believe. So anyway, let's put my needle through there. And I'll do my second side now. And the great thing about both of those methods is that the knot, well, because this thread is very, very fine, the knot is very small and it just passes straight through the beads. So I can just continue beading like normal, as though nothing ever happened. So let's pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, jump across, and in there, pick up one more, and in there, loop around. See that? I just extended my thread and there's no problem with it whatsoever. Pick up one more, and into the next bead. Pull, 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 all the way through to come out there. And I'll zoom back in a bit more. We're a bit far out. Add in that last little bead. Into that one again. And we can just reinforce everything in that last little row by jumping sideways. And along that final end of row of beads, all the way down to the very, very end. And now, just like before, we're going to go 1, 2, and 3 up to here so that we can come down here and out. So 1, 2, 3. I'll do 2 for now. 1 and 2, and up into that bead. Down this one. And we'll pick up our 5 beads plus the 2 for our 2 towards our class. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'll slide those on down. Oops. Go into that one there. Go back through the last 2 of those beads. And if this comes loose, just hold the toggle piece and pull the thread. There you go. Easy. Pick up 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we'll go down into the very, very last bead once more. Pull, and there you go. There's the second end all finished, and you can just reinforce that fella. See, these little threads, you can use like a thread burner if you want to, but otherwise you can just cut them off because those knots are pretty strong, surprisingly strong little knots. So yeah, if you want, you can just weave back across into the opposite end once again to reinforce, but I'm not going to because you already saw me do it on the other end. And then, more or less, you end up with... See how these end rows, they don't end up being all loose and wavy, as someone asked before. They actually do it. They all come fairly neat at the very end once you get there with your adding on of your final row. So anyway, that will give you whatever message you want to write. So, for example, we have... On this particular one here, if I flick it back into left-handed mode, there we go. We have I-L-O-V-E-Y-O-U, I love you. If you want to make it say Bead Spider, you can. So like this one here, I started it, B-E-A-D space S, and then 2/3 of the P before I ran out of time. And then we also had... this one here, which says Leonardo, so L-E-O-N-A-R, etc. D-O. This one's got my name on it. So there it is here. Whatever you want. So if you want to give it to someone or you want to keep it for yourself. So for example, with Jermaine's bracelets, they are to her size, but they have... the names of her grandchildren, which is very nice. You can give it to someone else by writing your name on it. You can write Happy Birthday, Merry Christmas. You can write Happy Mother's Day, or, you know, just Mum, whatever it is. You can alter it slightly as well if you want to. If you're only using like a really short thing, like for example, if it just said Mother, because that might not be the most lengthy code. But you could give it a go, see what it turns out to be. But you can always, like, change it so that a dot is 1 and a dash is 3. Bugles. I don't know. Or that the letter spaces are 3 and the word spaces are 4. I don't know. Play with it and you can sort of stretch them a bit so it looks a bit better. But anyway, those are your 5 different colours. This one here is the Mists of Avalon. If you want it to get one that's a nice skin tony colour, a nice fresh spring sort of minty colour. This one here was our Emerald Enigma. The black and silver one, which looks gorgeous, we called that one Silhouette. The one I've been demonstrating was called Atlantis Blue. And finally, this one here, which was the one on the keyframe. What did we end up calling that one? We called it Mystic Magenta. That's it. So there's that one just there. And you can see when you've got it on, it just, with a standard toggle. I mean, you can use like you could use like whatever clasp you want, to be honest. But I've used a toggle here. And then there you are. You have it. And on there, it just reads, not that anyone would know, but it reads, I love you. And there you go. See? Nice, simple. Clearly, Jermaine and I have a similar wrist size. But anyway, so that's it for today's tutorial. If you want to go and get the kit at 15% off, like I said, hopefully that little issue will be sorted by Monday. But you could do whatever you want. Whatever code takes your fancy, just write it in there and start wearing it or gifting it to whomever you want. They're quite quick and quite easy to make as well. So if you make to sell, for example, it's a great design that you can get people, you can make them customized pieces of jewelry to say whatever it is that they want. But yeah, so I am not actually going to be here next Friday. I'm having all 4 of my wisdom teeth taken out. So I'm not going to be here next Friday, and maybe we'll see, maybe not the Friday after, depending. I mean, you know, we don't want to have any streams where it's like, hey everybody, thanks for coming. I know my face is a bit swollen, but let's do some beading. I'm not going to do any of that. So potentially we'll have next week, it'll either be a pre-record or we will be doing a tutorial with Jermaine. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be one of those two. Joe, of course, will be back on Tuesday coming. And then hopefully, if I'm not here next week, hopefully the week after, I'll be back, but with 4 teeth less. Or it'll be the week after. We'll see. But anyway, There'll still be plenty of things coming, so I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. Go check out the links in the description. There are many, some of which are if you want to go and get our some of our patterns. But yeah, if you are getting this kit, you will also get the full alphabet included with the example. Plus, we've got the little sample pieces so that you can make your bracelet in inches or centimeters, whichever one. That will be included for free with your kit so that you can come up with any message that you want. But yeah, so like I said, I hope you had lots and lots of fun. And I will see you all very, very soon, I'm sure, after I've recovered. So yeah, thank you all very, very much for watching. Have a lovely, lovely weekend. Pop on over to the website and check out all the different things that we have. There are still some items. What was the kit last week? That one is... If there was one, maybe not. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, so go check out the website. If you enjoyed today's tutorial, make sure you follow that little link in the description for subscribing to our newsletter, and you get a £5 voucher to try out some of our beading patterns. But anyway, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you share this video and subscribe to our channel. I always forget to press those buttons until just now. But yeah, I will see you all next time, and have a lovely weekend. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.